Welcome to our exploration of the Vietnam War, a conflict that shaped the course of history. Let's examine the key events and the consequences that define this pivotal moment. We are going to look at the background and the consequences first of the Vietnam War. The Vietnam War was a complex conflict with deep roots in history. The French colonized Vietnam in the mid-19th century, and the Vietnamese people fought for the independence. The rise of communism and the leadership of Ho Chi Minh further complicated the situation. The domino theory, which suggested that communism would spread from country to country, led to increased USA involvement in the war. There are four key events that led to Vietnam War. The first event was Gulf of Tonkin incident that happened in 1964. The Gulf of Tonkin incident was a pivotal event that escalated USA involvement in the Vietnam War. On August 2, 1964, the USS Maddox, a USA Navy destroyer, reportedly came under attack by North Vietnamese torpedo boats. Although later investigation raised questions about the veracity of the second incident, President Lyndon B. Johnson used it as a justification to fast-track the Gulf of Tonkin resolution through Congress. This resolution granted the president expansive powers to use military force in Southeast Asia without a formal declaration of war. The second event that happened was Tet Offensive in 1968. Tet Offensive was a series of guerrilla attacks launched by Vietcong and North Vietnamese forces in early 1968. It marked a critical turning point for Vietnam Communist forces, undermining the perception of American military superiority. The offensive took place on Tet, the Vietnamese Lunar New Year, and was carried out by roughly 80,000 Communist troops. Although South Vietnamese and American forces technically won the battles, the Tet Offensive was a huge symbolic win for the communist insurgency. The third event that happened was My Lai Massacre. The My Lai Massacre was a tragic event in which USA soldiers killed hundreds of unarmed Vietnamese civilians in the village of My Lai. The massacre highlighted authorities' committed during the war and further enrolled public support by the conflict. Captain Ernest Medina, anticipating confrontation with Vietcong troops, ordered his soldiers to prepare for battle, but the operation ultimately resulted in the death of innocent civilians. The last event was Fall of Saigon in 1975. The fall of Saigon marked the end of the Vietnam War, as North Vietnamese forces seized control of South Vietnam capital city Saigon. The event was preceded by Operation Frequent Wind. A massive helicopter evacuated of remaining American diplomatic personnel and at-risk South Vietnamese citizens. The fall of Saigon led to a massive refugee crisis and economic instability, making it difficult for Vietnam to fully reunite under its new communist regime. The war resulted in immense human suffering, with millions of Vietnamese civilians and soldiers killed or wounded. The use of Agent Orange had long-lasting environmental and health effects. The war also had significant social and cultural impacts, including the anti-war movement and struggles faced by veterans. The Vietnam War's legacy is complex, with lessons about the importance of careful decision-making and the power of diplomacy. Today, the USA and Vietnam has normalized relations, and the country is working to rebuild and move forward. In conclusion, the Vietnam War was a pivotal moment in history. Understanding its events and consequences helps us better navigate the complexity of international relations and conflicts.